This now goes in the microwave. Hey guys, good morning. Today is a Wednesday and I feel so tired. I woke up later than I usually would want to. I wanted to go and work out this morning, but I woke up with like super sore legs from my exercise yesterday, so I decided not to go. Gonna have breakfast and start with work. So I'm gonna make some iced coffee in my favorite Starbucks, I don't know what this is called, like container. This was a present that my father gave me because I was obsessed with Starbucks at some point in my life. So that's why this is very special to me, even though it's now getting old. Weiss chocolate syrup. And some milk. So you might be wondering why I'm sitting here and not in the usual table you see. I don't like bringing my breakfast over to that table, just to distinct like food areas and work areas. So instead I'm gonna like check some stuff, like if the deployment I released yesterday works fine, and just some basic stuff over here while eating my breakfast. So currently I'm working on creating an endpoint. Not gonna go into much detail about what it's for. Basically, I have the endpoint ready, the logic, everything ready, but there's a stupid test that keeps failing, and something that I'm trying to mock is not working as expected. So it's annoying because it's so close yet so far, and I was already trying to get it done last night. But since that didn't happen, I'm hoping that this morning when I look at it from like a fresh eye, it's gonna work. Fingers crossed. So it's now like 1:15 and I have a meeting at 2. I haven't really had lunch yet because I was so busy debugging my stupid test. Basically like an integration test, so it's supposed to mock a lot of dependencies, and this is like the first big integration test in this new service. So I'm bound to have all of these problems, but it's just so annoying. I think one of the hardest parts of being an engineer, or like just debugging in general for me, is knowing when to stop, because when I'm in the middle of a piece of code and it's not working and I just want it to work, I can like spend hours and hours looking at the same thing and not stop myself. So I think it's time to stop, and although I don't feel hungry, I'm just gonna take a small break and go out for a walk or something to get my body moving, since I didn't have a very productive morning. So hoping that the rest of the day can be productive. So I'm gonna head out for the walk and take you guys with me. So I have a meeting in a couple of minutes, but I really want to talk about this new podcast that I've been listening to, and I was listening to it on the walk as well. Actually, it's a channel that I came across a few days ago, and the stuff they talk about is it's just things that I never considered, or I never gave them much thought. So the podcast is actually called South Asian Queens. It's hosted by this female South Asian whose parents were immigrants. So she talks about her struggles, like first generation South Asian, and there seem to be like different people who come on each episode and they talk about what they went through. And I think as I listened to each episode, that's when I realized that wow, I also experienced that. I only listened to a few episodes so far, but the most recent one that I just listened to was about a queer guy sharing what it's like to be South Asian and queer, and how he ended up coming out to his family and how difficult it was for him. I really felt like sharing this podcast with you guys because it was something that I found so relatable. So if you are South Asian, or if you're interested, whether you're a male or a female, I think it's great to listen to these sort of things where you listen to other people share their experiences. And although it's usually the women that are suppressed in South Asian communities, I think guys guys should definitely go and give these things a listen, because that's really how you drive change eventually. I would love to like talk more into detail about the stuff that I listen to in this podcast and my experience as a South Asian woman whose parents were immigrants. And even though my family is not very conservative and I did get dealt a very good hand growing up in the family that I was given, it's so interesting listening to other people's experiences in this community and what they went through and what change still needs to be brought forward. So I'm so glad that such podcasts are coming up, and I'd love to hear if you guys have gone through similar experiences you don't like in the community, or what did you find that was toxic, or what traditions do you not like to follow. Guess what? My test is still not working. So just ended my meeting and it was super productive, and it's 3 o'clock now and I'm hungry finally. So I'm gonna heat up some pasta. Too much cheese? I don't think so. The weather is so gloomy, it's so sad. I can't wait for summer to come and there'll be so much sun and it'll be so beautiful. There will be leaves on the trees again. Ah, so excited just for summer. So my test works. Amazing news. I guess this is the sort of feeling that make me think, yeah, I want to keep being a software engineer when like things finally start to work, and it's such an amazing feeling. So I just made my PR, like pull request. So basically requested the rest of my teammates to have a look at what I've done. I think I was just reading on like what I should do next, but I'm thinking of treating myself with some tea. So I think I'm gonna do that. Welcome to Germany in the winter. It's like pitch dark outside and only like 5 p.m. now, or like 4 something. Tea time. So before my meeting just now, I was talking about like the new podcast that I was starting to listen to and what I really enjoyed. But there are also some other podcasts that have transformed the way I look at things and totally changed my perspective on podcasts in general. About this very briefly in my morning routine video, like the top podcasts that I listen to and what I really like. But to go into detail, like one podcast that absolutely I would say changed my life is On Purpose by Jay Shetty. I know there's like some random community on the internet that thinks of him as fraud that's like selling snake oil, like juice. But to me personally, like his podcast, when he brings on people who are very inspiring, very motivational, aspirational, it's so nice to get access to their lives, their stories, and their suggestions to people who are younger. So people like me can actually learn from them. And if not for podcasts, I would have no access to them or to know this deeply about their life. So I really like the kind of questions he asks in his podcast, because I think they really get people to talk about like deeper things that are important to them and things that have inspired them to be the way they are. One of my favorite episodes of him is Found It. So it's his conversations with Dr. Daniel Amen, who is an author, doctor. He's like a brain specialist sort of thing. So he talks so much about how you can train your brain to make your life better. And it got me thinking so much about like brain and how that's actually so important and how I should start to train it and not just the muscles that's visible on my body. So his episode is so good. I would definitely recommend people to check it out. I will link it down below. Next, I really enjoyed listening to Not Overthinking because I got introduced to Ali Abdaal on YouTube. Like I think I was watching some study video back when I was in university. So I was like, wow, this guy is really cool. And then I researched a bit more and I found out that, oh, he has a podcast with his brother. I think it's just two tech bros having conversation sort of vibe, but the kind of things that they talk about is very interesting and it's the sort of things that I would talk to my friends about. So it's just nice to listen to them talk amongst each other. Another podcast that I haven't mentioned anywhere is the Ranveer Show, which is by a guy called Ranveer in India. I mean, he basically also interviews people from India or outside of India to talk about issues, anything. And I really like his conversations. Like he also asks really good questions, and the kind of people that he interviews are very inspiring as well. Usually it's people from the South Asian community, so I really like listening to that as well because it feels like a part of me that I feel connected to. Another one that I really like is Women of Impact because I feel very strongly about women empowerment and like women being in fields where they are the minority, which is often everywhere, especially because I'm also a woman in STEM or tech, which is where I'm clearly a minority. So I feel very strongly for women's issues in the corporate world, or of course outside of the corporate world, but I cannot relate much to that. It's always interesting to learn more about like other women's issues, the things that they've gone through, how different their experience are to mine, or how similar it is to mine. This is my favorite mug. It's my partner's mug, but I stole it. In Singapore, we have this thing called teh tarik, which is basically milk tea, and it tastes so good, it's so cheap. You can get it at hawker centers for $1 or something. Really depends on where you're getting it from, but I miss that. I'm now gonna make some green curry, and you can join me in Gauri's kitchen. I just have my headphones on because I'm gonna watch some shows while doing it. Of course, I can't make like green curry from scratch, like the paste and everything, because I don't have all the ingredients and I don't have the press on. There's a word for it. Something in mortar, I think. Yeah, so I don't have that, but I do have a paste, this, and I'm gonna make chicken curry. I hate cutting chicken, like I absolutely hate cutting chicken. I'm gonna have to do it. You know how people have wine when they cook? I have tea. So the first step when cooking is to actually take out all the ingredients that you're gonna need. So I have everything that I need here, some onions, chili, carrot, broccoli, chicken, ginger, garlic. Slow cooking the chicken, very slow, and now I'm gonna add in the broccoli. Let's eat. Nail photo. I don't know how the chicken will taste. I've not tasted it yet. I like the soup. So I just had dinner and we watched Netflix for so long. We watched this show called All of You Are Dead or something. All of Us Are Dead. It's some Korean show about zombies in a high school. And for some reason it's super interesting. So we watched like 2 episodes straight, which is, one episode is like 45 minutes. So that's pretty long and quite an unproductive evening. Now I'm just gonna do like some get ready for bed pampering session, like some skincare and things like that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.